And as you can see, the power goes straight in on the power cord and has no overcurrent protection of any kind. And I'm going to use my new Weller soldering iron I got on eBay to put the line fuse in. I just tinned my iron a little bit there. And take this little zip tie off here. And I'm going to cut the live side of the power cord here, because that's the side I'm going to go to the fuse block with. Pull this back. Okay, I'm going to remove some solder from the terminal that we're going to be desoldering from here. So I'm going to wipe my tip off, so I'm going to have to tin it a little bit to there. That'll make it easier to take that wire off of there. So I'll reach down here and get my needle nose pliers. We'll pick the insulation up here. I'll grab all those strands there. Careful not to burn anything. There, we got all the strands off the part there. So I got to get my little fixture I made to hold my block while I do the soldering. So I use some coarse sandpaper here to sand the terminals on the fuse block so I get a nice clean flow through of solder on it. So I'll bend them down a little bit. Okay, so I'll slide this over a minute here. I'll put my part that I'm soldering in here. I'll get my wire out. I'm going to be using an 18 gauge because that's what the size of the cord is coming into the unit. I'll slide this down, I'll bring this over here, and I'll bring the camera up a little closer so you can see how I solder it. So I'll take my rosin core solder here. I'm going to try this without flux and see how it goes. I'll make sure all my strands go in through the hole. And I'll lift it up, clean my tip, put some solder on here. Now I can just slide that insulation up a little bit with my fingers there, just to get it up there a little bit. I don't like how it bubbled there, so I'm going to take it off and I'm going to cut it back and re-strip it. And I'll use my solder pump and I'll pump out the hole. And we'll try it again. Now I want to bring the insulation up a little bit further so it's just about butted up to the hole. And that's how I want it, right there. Let that cool a minute. Okay, that gave me a very nice solder joint there. Okay, so now I'll strip my other end here, which is on the line cord. Careful not to break any strands. There we go. Now this one's going to be a little bit trickier because I have to hold it while I solder it. because I might not be able to get it with my vise. Unless I do it this way. Maybe I'll be able to do it this way. Oh, that came out nice. I like this idea. Now I'm not using flux with this rosin core solder. So I gotta make sure my tip is all nice and clean. I'm gonna put a little tin here on my iron and go underneath. And I'll let that cool a bit. Boy, that came out really nice. I like how that came out. So now I can mount this up here. I'll strip my other end off. Okay, so now I'm going to put the block here in place. Put a little washer on the back here. This nut doesn't straighten out and go on there, and I just grab the screw gun and just ram it right on there and make sure it goes on. And I'll just do that off camera. Okay, I used the screw gun and the nut driver to get the end of that screw started so it's threaded right. So I got the nut on and now I put it back in the unit here. I did the screw gun without the fuse blocker. I took the whole thing out when I did that with the screw gun. Make sure it's all nice and straight. And once you know, I forgot to put the washer on. Sometimes, come on. Well, I lost my nut. It's easier to lose it than it is to find it, so I'm going to just go get another one. Okay, I had to paw through everything off camera looking for another one, so I did get another one, and now we're ready to go. Okay, make sure it's all nice and straight. There we go, nice and straight right there. Okay, so now we can bring this wire down here and put it on this post over here. Now here I'm not going to twist the strands together because I'm wrapping them around a post. Okay, so now we're ready to solder that up. Okay, I'll tin my iron again here. I'll come down here and there we go. Now that I'm done with the iron, I'm going to tin it, put it back in here, and we'll turn it off. I'll turn it down all the way, and I'll turn it off. Okay, now we'll put our zip tie back in place here that was there from the factory. Down all the way. Now this unit has a polarized plug on it, so I put the fuse on the side that says hot. So I'll just shape this wire so it's not touching the side of the transformer there. So now I'll explain to you why I put this fuse in. See these rectifier diodes over here in these power capacitors? If these short out, it can overheat the transformer, and if the transformer gets hot, it can start drawing a lot of amperage. And this cord is only rated for like maybe 7-8 amps or so, I'm not exactly sure. But the house fuse is 15 and 20 amps. And I'll show you those fuses and so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, here are your typical house fuses, a 20 amp and a 15 amp. And see how tiny the little filament is in this little fuse I'm putting in the stereo unit there? While it's taking time to burn these fuses out, it could overheat the cord and create a fire. And especially if somebody had put the wrong size fuse in their fuse box and put a 30 in, it would even take longer to blow the fuse. So instead of relying on the house fuse, you should have a little fuse in the AC primary, and you can see how tiny that little filament is in there. Let's see, the reflection makes it look bigger, but oh, there it is. When the light hits it, there, now you can see it better. See how small that is compared to the typical 20 amp house fuse? So this will blow before a fire starts.